the ancient kingdom of Velmora, where golden towers touched the clouds and rivers sparkled like silver. Beneath the sun, there ruled a noble king named Aldric. He was known across distant lands as a wise and merciful ruler who never allowed hunger, injustice, or fear to spread among his people. Farmers prayed for his long life, children sang songs about his kindness, and soldiers proudly defended his banner. But despite all his wisdom and power, King Aldric carried one deep sorrow within his heart. His beloved queen had died many years earlier, leaving behind only their son, Prince Adrian. Prince Adrian grew into a brave and intelligent young man. Unlike many princes who cared only for luxury and hunting, Adrian spent his days among scholars, travelers, and ordinary villagers. He listened carefully to stories, learned the secrets of nature, and studied the stars at night. His father often said, "A sword may win a battle, but wisdom wins kingdoms." One cold evening, a terrible darkness fell over Velmora. The sky turned gray, birds stopped singing, and icy winds swept through the streets. That same night, King Aldric collapsed inside the royal hall. The kingdom's finest healers rushed to him, carrying herbs from distant deserts and magical potions from hidden mountains. But nothing could cure the king. Day by day, his face grew pale, and his breathing weakened. Fear spread through the kingdom. Without King Aldric, enemies would attack, and chaos would rise. On the seventh night, while rain crashed against the palace windows, an old traveler arrived at the gates. He wore a cloak as dark as midnight, and carried a lantern that glowed with blue fire. The guards tried to stop him, but the mysterious man said, "I have come to save the king." He was brought before Prince Adrian, who stood beside his father's bed. The old traveler looked into Adrian's eyes and spoke softly. "The king's life is tied to 3 ancient riddles created by the guardians of the world. Long ago, these riddles were hidden in places where only the brave and wise could reach them. Solve all 3 riddles before the next full moon, and your father will live. Fail, and the king's soul will fade forever." Prince Adrian did not hesitate even for a moment. "I will go," he said firmly. The traveler handed him an ancient map marked with 3 glowing symbols. The first riddle waits beneath the Sea of Echoes, the second lies deep within the Blackroot Jungle. The third and final riddle sleeps inside the desert of forgotten time. Before dawn, Adrian mounted his white horse and left the palace alone. The people watched silently as their prince disappeared into the misty horizon. After many days of travel, Adrian reached the Sea of Echoes. The ocean stretched endlessly beneath a dark sky, and strange whispers floated across the waves. Sailors feared this sea, because ships often vanished there without a trace. Adrian hired a small wooden boat and sailed toward the center of the sea where the map glowed brightest. Suddenly, the water around him began to swirl violently. Giant waves rose like mountains, and from the depths emerged a massive spirit made entirely of water. Its eyes shone like blue stars. The spirit's voice thundered across the sea. "Prince of Velmora, answer my riddle if you wish to pass." Adrian stood tall despite the storm. The spirit spoke, "I speak without a mouth and hear without ears. I have no body, yet I come alive with wind. What am I?" The prince closed his eyes and listened carefully to the sea around him. Then he heard his own voice carried across the waves. "Anicho." He opened his eyes and answered confidently, "You are an echo." At once, the storm vanished. The spirit smiled and placed a glowing sapphire shell into Adrian's hands. "You possess wisdom greater than fear," the spirit said before sinking beneath the sea. Adrian continued his journey toward the Blackroot Jungle. The jungle was darker than night itself. Thick trees twisted together like giant snakes, blocking the sunlight completely. Strange cries echoed through the shadows, and glowing eyes watched him from every direction. As Adrian traveled deeper, he found an ancient stone temple covered in vines. Sitting before the temple entrance was a giant tiger with black fur and golden eyes. "No one enters unless they solve my riddle," the tiger growled. Adrian nodded respectfully. The tiger began, "The more there is of me, the less you see. What am I?" For a long moment, Adrian remained silent. He thought of fog, smoke, and clouds, but none felt right. Then he noticed how the jungle grew darker as night approached. Finally, he smiled. "The answer is darkness," he said. The tiger stepped aside immediately. "You see beyond appearances, Prince Adrian." Inside the temple, Adrian discovered a glowing emerald flower resting upon a stone altar. As he touched it, warm light spread through the jungle, and the trees seemed to whisper in relief. Now only the final riddle remained. Adrian journeyed for weeks across burning lands until he reached the desert of forgotten time. Endless dunes rolled beneath the blazing sun like waves of gold. Travelers said the desert was cursed because it trapped people inside illusions from their past. As Adrian crossed the sands, he began seeing visions of his childhood. He saw himself running through palace gardens beside his mother. He saw his father teaching him to hold a sword. He heard laughter long gone from the world. The memories nearly broke his heart, but Adrian forced himself to continue walking. At the center of the desert stood a gigantic ruined clock tower buried in sand. An old woman dressed in silver robes waited there beside the fire. "You have come far," she said, "but the final riddle decides everything." Adrian knelt before her. The old woman's voice became cold and powerful. "I can destroy kingdoms and heal broken hearts. Rich men cannot buy me, and poor men cannot keep me. Every person has me, but no one can hold me forever. What am I?" Adrian stared silently into the fire. He thought about his dying father, his lost mother, and the years that passed like flowing rivers. At last he whispered, "Time." The desert shook violently. Golden light burst from the ruins, and the giant clock tower began turning once more. The old woman smiled kindly. "You have solved what many could not. You understand the greatest truth of life." She handed Adrian a crystal hourglass filled with shining silver sand. "Return home quickly. Your father's life fades with every grain." Adrian raced back toward Velmora without stopping to rest. Storms battered him, rivers blocked his path, and exhaustion weakened his body, but he never gave up. When he finally reached the palace, the kingdom had fallen silent. Candles burned throughout the halls, and many believed the king had already died. Prince Adrian rushed into his father's chamber carrying the sapphire shell, the emerald flower, and the crystal hourglass. The mysterious traveler stood waiting beside the king's bed. "You have returned in time," the old man said. He placed the three treasures together. Suddenly, brilliant light filled the room like the rising sun. Wind swept through the palace, and the sound of distant voices echoed through the air. King Aldric slowly opened his eyes. The prince fell beside him in tears. "Father!" The king looked weak, but alive. He smiled gently and placed his hand upon Adrian's shoulder. "You faced the world for me," he whispered. The old traveler began walking toward the door. "Wait," Adrian called. "Who are you?" The traveler turned, and for a moment his form glowed like starlight. "I am only a guardian of wisdom," he replied. "Remember this, young prince. Strength may protect a kingdom, but wisdom and love are what truly save it. Then he vanished into the light. King Aldric recovered fully, and peace returned to Velmora. Years later, when Adrian became king, he ruled with even greater wisdom than his father. The people never forgot the journey of the prince who crossed the sea, conquered the jungle, and survived the desert to solve the 3 riddles of life itself. And for generations afterward, parents told their children the story of Prince Adrian, the prince who proved that courage alone was not enough, because the greatest heroes are those who use both heart and wisdom together.
Please subscribe my channel, like and share my video.